Our good friend
on.
Paul Barattiero is going to be on with us today, and we're going to be talking about water. The title that we gave to the webinar was How to Turn Your Tap Water into a Healing Elixir. And it sounds kind of sensational, but it's really true. And we want to show you how you can change the nature of the water. But we want to get Paul on to help us explain that because he is an expert.
Also, I think that there's a link eventually that can share so that you can go. I don't know, team, if you're going to pin it. I think they're going to pin a link to this machine so you could see, where to get it if you're interested. But let's see.
And we have almost 1,700 people on right now. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. So, as you know, 70% of your brain is water. Upwards of 80% of your body is water. I don't know if you knew this fact about water, but about 67% of the fresh water in the world is actually trapped inside of glaciers. I don't know if you knew that. So water is the most common substance on Earth. And so that's why it's so important that the water that we're ingesting is clean. And there's certain myths about water that even we were believing until recently. And so we want to kind of go over, we want to talk with Paul when he gets on about alkaline water. And then we even want to talk about ways to put hydrogen in water.
Well,
and other things.
The great thing, we love this machine. We've had it for a couple of years. We love it so much that we got another one. We've got a pool house for the kiddos. And so we put one up there as well. But we are all about clean water and water to optimize. We realize, our bodies are made of what? Upwards to 80%.
Yeah, so over 80% of our bodies are water. And like I said, over 70% of your brain is water. It's impossible literally to detoxify your body appropriately if you're not properly hydrated. Because your kidneys, your liver, your gallbladder, all these organs, your intestines, your organs of elimination and your organs of filtration, if you're not properly hydrated, they don't work well. And so that's one of the reasons that water is so important is that people are sick because they're nutritionally deficient, but they're also toxic. And unless we detoxify, it's impossible for us to become healthy. There was a book that was written 20 or 30 years ago, and it was called Your Body's Many Cries for Water, I think was the title of it. And it was written by a man named, he's referred to as Dr. Batman. He was an Iranian doctor, and he was in prison in Iran, and he helped hundreds, if not thousands, of people recover from common symptoms and ailments just by hydrating them. So his claim was that you're really not sick a lot of the time, you're just dehydrated. So that's one of the reasons that water is so important, is that every function in your body depends upon adequate supply of water. So what's going on? Is Paul joining us?
I think he might be having technical difficulties. So what we could do is let's talk about alkaline water, because one of the things that people ask us all the time, they're like, well, what about alkaline water? Isn't alkaline water the way to go? There's different machines that are selling alkaline water.
Yeah, alkaline, number one, it's important to be drinking clean water. But there's a lot of speculation out there that you should be drinking alkaline water, because if you drink alkaline water, then that actually, quote, alkalinizes your body, right? And so one of the things, I want to hang tight until Paul can hop on to help us explain that, because that's not really necessarily what you get, because there's so many different systems in your body that buffer acids and buffer alkalinity to get to a neutral pH, that it's not necessarily true that water that you drink that's alkaline, that alkalinity actually reaches all the way into your small intestine to where it's useful to you. It's not a bad thing, but it's not necessarily, doesn't have all of the health benefits necessarily that people think of when you think of drinking alkaline water converts to having an alkaline system. One of the reasons that we know that drinking, let's say, sodas is unhealthy is not just because if you're drinking diet sodas, you got the aspartame factor and so forth, but you've also got, hey, there's Paul.
There's Paul.
Paul's joined the room, but you've also got an acidic factor that you have to buffer these acids the sodas are so acidic.
Hey, Paul.
There's Paul. What's up, brother?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
So guys out there, we just want to introduce our good friend, Paul, with this amazing technology. He's really a good friend of ours. Paul, we're so glad that you could join us. Yeah. We've had Paul in our house Actually, he's slept overnight on Ty's couch in his office before.
That's right.
And we had a lot of good times together.
He used my own toothbrush.
He
Just
did
kidding.
not. He did not. They did not share a toothbrush.
Paul's a good friend of the family, though, so we love
Yeah.
Paul, his wife Jacqueline, his son Jackson. We've
Yeah.
known them forever. And just so you know, Paul, we've got over 1,900 people watching right now on the webinar. So
Yeah.
the numbers have just gone up since we started. But thank you for joining us. As we mentioned, Paul's a good friend, and we were just getting to the myth of alkaline water actually transferring the alkalinity into your system and making you alkaline. And I'm so glad that you joined when you did, because I was about ready to have to start making stuff up. No, not really. I don't understand it as well as you do. So you're an expert on that, one of the experts. So if you could, Paul, pick up at that point and explain to the people who are watching why having alkaline water, which there's dozens of machines out there that are very expensive machines that sell that will convert your water to alkaline. Yeah. Does that equate to having an alkaline small intestine?
Tell us about alkaline water.
Yeah, these are good questions. So this has been a myth going on, and just as a caveat, I started this industry, the alkaline water industry. There were me and two other men that started it. We were selling 2,000 machines a month. 12, 15 years ago, there were alkaline water machines. So I can unequivocally talk about it because, you know, I've sold hundreds of thousands of these machines. And this is what I would say from a medical perspective. We have our stomach that the pH of the stomach is 4. When we have bile, it's 1.5. And by the time we add some gastric juices and what have you, we end up with a pH of around 4 in the stomach environment. When you have water that is running through an electrolysis machine that effectively changes pH because we're moving a H plus of the water molecule over to the acid side, and we're keeping a hydroxide, which is OH minus, this does increase the pH of the water, but there is very, very little buffering capacity. What I mean by buffering is it has very little power to keep that pH. So if we were to take a glass of water that was a 10 pH, let's just go crazy and say it's a 10 pH or 11 pH water coming out of
really alkaline, right?
Right.
Very alkaline.
Yeah, and put a few drops of lemon juice in it, the pH will plummet. It will quickly go acid. So we know if lemon juice will do this, as soon as it hits the stomach acid will greatly reduce the pH of the water. And so that's the case. The other thing we know for a fact is the pH of a solution going into our body does not affect our blood pH. I sometimes laugh because people say, oh, I drink this alkaline water to make my body alkaline. And I said, what does that really mean? Because there's no such thing as an alkaline body. What pH are you talking about? The blood, the kidneys, the pancreas, the gallbladder, the lung tissue, cell tissue? What are we really talking about? And they just kind of look at you like, oh, that's a good question. No one ever asked that before. Because the reality is every organ has a specific pH it functions at. And that varies based on the mission of that organ. But let's talk about blood for a second, because this is the one people are going to go, oh, it's my blood, right? My blood needs to be alkaline. Well, the reality is blood pH is 7.35 to 7.45. It is very slightly alkaline. And the window is so tiny, 7.35 to 7.45. If you go out of that range, either direction, too low or too high, you go into shock. So trust me, the body will do everything in its power to keep the blood pH where it's at. And if it was true, let's just have some fun here for a second. If it was true that water with a higher pH greatly changed our blood, then what would soda do that's a 2.5 pH? It would kill us instantly, right? So we know that the pH does not transfer from the stomach into our body, because first it goes into the duodenum and then it goes into the small intestines anyways. And then that's where water is absorbed, is in our small intestine. So it's false. It's completely false from a medical perspective to think that water is going to keep that pH through the stomach, through the duodenum or duodenum, into the small intestine, and then through the intestinal wall into the body. It's just not going to happen. So it is completely a misleading thing that alkaline water is going to change the pH of the body itself. It is the body harvesting calcium out of its own bones that it regulates pH with. There's many other systems. So I hope that explains it for everybody.
Well, Paul, you're really, really good at explaining the science behind it. We're glad you joined us right when you did, because we didn't have that full, well-rounded explanation for everybody that is watching to understand.
What he did say, though, at least I didn't say anything that was wrong. It was
That's right.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And Paul, we didn't get a chance because we started before you were here to really introduce you to our audience. And how did you just tell our audience who you are and how you got started with these water machines?
Yeah, and by the way, we have over 2,100 people watching right now, so awesome.
Yeah, a lot of great people all over the world. We've got Switzerland and Canada.
And a bunch of other countries.
Yeah, just everywhere. Yeah, they're awesome.
So a little history on me. I don't like talking about myself as much, but that's fine. I can do that. I've been in the medical industry my whole life. I was a podorthist originally, treating diabetic foot and ankle issues, and then later have become an ND, so doctor of naturopathy. But what got me interested in the water is I was treating individuals with diabetes, foot and ankle issues, and my entire scope of practice was wanting to prevent decubitus ulcers so that we didn't have amputations of toes or feet. So my entire focus, and I was an adjunct faculty member at Oklahoma State University teaching epidemiology, diabetes, what have you. And also I was an adjunct faculty member at St. Petersburg College, again, teaching courses on epidemiology, diabetes, what have you. So my entire focus at that time, I had a shoe company that we manufactured shoes and inserts that would spread pressure from the bottom of the foot so that people with diabetes did not have ulcers and amputations. So imagine when I started hearing, and this was 15 years ago, I started hearing the fact that there was this water out there that could help people with diabetes. That's what originally caught my eye. And the same people that said to me, hey, have you heard about this? It could help your wife. Because my wife and I were married 10 years at the time. Now we're almost 25 years. But 10 years into our marriage, she suffered from so many health issues, from thyroid issues to gynecological issues. I used to lose her 1 week a month in bed. When she was on her menstrual cycle, she could not get out of bed because the pain was so bad. And she had a very heavy flow. I don't want to get too into that, but all the ladies out there understand what I'm saying. And the reality is she would lose about 30 ounces of blood per menstrual cycle. So she was anemic. She couldn't get out of bed, and a lot of issues between energy levels, thyroid, all this kind of thing. And so there was not anything I wouldn't do for my queen. There was not much I wouldn't do for the love of my life to help her. And so when these people were saying, hey, get this water machine, or they get this water, it wasn't even a machine at the time, but get this water. And I was like, what are you talking about? But I'll do anything for her. So funny enough, and it's a little bit of a funny story, these people were taking us on a cruise. I had helped them with their company to help them through a tough time. And as a thank you, they took Jacqueline and I on a cruise. And so they brought with them this water. And I thought it was the strangest thing because I told them, they do have water on the ship, right? We don't need to bring our own water. Well, they said, oh, no, you don't want to drink that water. You want to drink this special water, whatever. Well, my wife was on her menstrual cycle and she couldn't hardly get out of bed the first day of the cruise. It was a Sunday and she was in there. So I'd go to the art auction, come back, do whatever. Well, she started drinking this water. And I was noticing, holy cow, she's up and around. This is way, way too soon. And I started seeing some differences. So I immediately noticed that there was a difference. And the people who were telling me were saying, oh, it's alkaline. And from a medical perspective, I said, I don't buy into that. But what is the mechanism of healing? I wanted to understand why was it? And these people were saying, oh, there's studies showing about diabetes and cancer. And this was 15 years ago. And I'm like, water doesn't do that. So what's in the water? And honestly, that led me on about 1.5 years deep dive research to try and find what it was that was actually helping people, because I knew it was not the pH, because we could put baking soda in water and give it to people and have the same benefits if that's all it was. So it took about 1.5 years. I had a PhD chemist that worked for me at the time, and I said, hey, Chris, look at this, all this data, all these studies that these people are saying, this is what proves alkaline water works. And I said, can you look through all this and see, because I think it's a bunch of nonsense, and see if there's anything in there. I don't think it has anything to do with pH. And so he did. He came back the next day. His PhD was in water from Emory. And he came back and said, you're right. It's not anything to do with pH. All the rest of this is nonsense. In fact, everything they're saying is opposite of what I learned in my water chemistry getting my PhD. But he goes, there's this one study, and he held up one study, and he said, deep in this study, there was one graph that showed DH. And that is where I think your answer is. And I said, what's DH? And he said, dissolved hydrogen. And I said, whoa. And as soon as I said that, Ty and Charlene, the spirit, I mean, it just went through me. And you know how that feels. Immediately, I knew this was the truth. This was what I was looking for. It was hydrogen, and it just flowed through me. And immediately I knew, oh my gosh. And he said to me, do you want me to do more research? I said, no, I got it from here. And I went on a deep dive to understand hydrogen. And I tell you what, I've never looked back, because I have fallen in love with what hydrogen does in the body and how the creator made our body to produce hydrogen on its own. It's such a beautiful story. But that's a little bit about where my passion came from. And by the way, my wife's menstrual cycle was normalized in about 6 months, where we didn't even know when she was on her menstrual cycle. And it was about a 6-month period where she was getting better. But 6 months later, I was like, holy cow, I can't deny this. This was my own wife. She hasn't changed anything else. So needless to say, I was very passionate.
Paul, that's awesome. So you're saying that the water that was infused with hydrogen, molecular hydrogen, was what Jacqueline was drinking and benefiting from.
Well, what was happening? These people had a business where they had started selling the water by the gallon. So they were cleaning these machines almost every day, because they were selling 200 gallons a day out of these machines. So they were doing a cleaning cycle. So the water was alkaline, but it did have hydrogen in it because they were cleaning it constantly, all these machines. And so she was getting benefits because there was a small amount of hydrogen in these machines, because they were constantly doing maintenance.
So they thought that the benefit of the water was the alkalinity, but the reality was it was a peripheral benefit of having molecular hydrogen, and they didn't even know it. So let me ask you this, Paul. There's a lot of alkaline machines out there, and we're not going to say that you shouldn't drink alkaline water. You can make your own choice. Does it actually translate to an alkaline body? The science says it really doesn't, but we should be drinking clean water. So these machines that you're talking about, this water way back when was infused with molecular hydrogen. Do the alkaline water machines today infuse the water with molecular hydrogen as a side benefit?
So that's the $1 million question, right? So the answer is, when they are brand spanking new and you've spent $4,000 or $5,000 on these machines, and you get it out and you put it on your countertop and you're getting water out of it, absolutely, they do produce hydrogen. How much? It really depends on what brand of machine, because some produce a good amount of hydrogen, some produce very little. For anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, the machine will produce hydrogen at whatever it can based on its design. But after 2 to 3 weeks, calcium builds up on the cathode, or the electrode that's inside the machine that's negatively charged. It doesn't matter how many you have, calcium builds up on those electrodes, and you will no longer have the ability to dissolve hydrogen, all the way down to where you won't have any dissolved hydrogen after a few weeks. So unless people are cleaning their machine with citric acid or with a very high potency of vinegar, 30% vinegar, or what's called commercial vinegar, they're not going to have hydrogen in these machines. And it doesn't matter if they spend $4,000 or $5,000 on them. Within a period of weeks, they no longer are going to have hydrogen. So that's the major difference. Is if it was alkaline and hydrogen, then yes, you're going to get benefits. And so when people were buying these machines when they were brand new, they were having these wonderful health benefits. And it was true, they were receiving benefits. The problem was after a few weeks, they no longer had the benefits. But because they had built their testimony on that before, they were talking about it. But that's the reality. When the studies were done in 1950 in Japan, so we had 15 years of human trials in Japan. These were not flow-through machines like we have today. These were what's called a batch ionizer, where you would literally have two probes or two round electrodes that were solid pieces of metal that were down in the water, and they would run the water for a half an hour in a batch. Then people would drink that. And in the 15-year human trial, they proved that they cured digestive disorder, they stopped improper fermentation in the gut, and you had thousands of doctors' offices and hospitals that began using it as medical treatment, and these machines were made a medical device in Japan in 1965 and after because of the medicinal purposes. Today, with a flow-through machine, that's why we have the problem with the scale buildup in there. So that's what I fixed. The first generation of Echo machines, we no longer had that problem of scale buildup.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first question I had, is like, so if you figured out a way to fix that problem so you don't have to clean the machine every 2 or 3 weeks and you still get that molecular hydrogen, because look, I've read studies on molecular hydrogen. It is a miracle, the things that it can do. Right. No specific diseases or symptoms will be mentioned here, but the studies are out there on molecular. We're talking about thousands of studies, and molecular hydrogen is the key. So that's the question. If you've solved that problem of how to continually get molecular hydrogen without having to get in and clean your own machine every 2 weeks,
because we're not going to do that. I mean, I don't have time to clean a water machine. I wouldn't do it. But yours, you don't have to. It continues to infuse the water with the molecular hydrogen.
Yeah, and that's the Echo H2 machine that we're talking about that Paul invented, molecular hydrogen. Right. And I remember, Paul, it was a couple years ago with this machine. Our good friend, the health ranger, he tested it and he's like, "What do you know, man? It's producing molecular hydrogen." Yeah,
and my guy,
he was very skeptical at first, but he tested it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He uses it, tested. He promoted them. So, and he tested the filtration as well. And we can talk about that in a few minutes. But yeah, the first generation, we figured out that if you reverse the polarity on the electrodes every single time you turn on the machine, then you no longer have scale buildup. So that was the first generation. So we ended up having alkaline water with hydrogen. Now, I know.
You're making us thirsty for water.
I love it. Now we don't even increase the pH. So the Echo H2 machine, it doesn't matter what water you run. We're not affecting pH because we're not separating it into the two streams. We are literally just cleaning it and then dissolving molecular hydrogen into the water without changing pH. So that's critical. There's a lot of people, and here's the funny thing about the alkaline industry. A lot of people had what we call Hertzheimer effects. When they would drink high pH water or alkaline water, there's about 15% of the population that it throws off their body balance. And so they would have these issues with their body. And so the person who sold the machine would say, "Oh, that's detoxing. You're detoxing." But it wasn't really detoxing. It was a Hertzheimer effect because their body was thrown off and out of balance. So we don't have those issues either. We have neutral pH water. If neutral water's coming in, people can use reverse osmosis, distilled, tap water, spring water, whatever water they want. They can use it with the machine. We don't change the pH. We just put the hydrogen, which is, as you have said, is what helps them. And there are hundreds and hundreds of studies, 45 human studies, double-blind, placebo-controlled studies, covering 170 human disease models. I've lectured on them. When at the live event, I spent a whole 45-minute lecture on cancer and how oxidative stress causes cancer and hydrogen reduces oxidative stress. But we have studies on neurologic issues. We have studies on recovering the gut. We have studies on all these things. And again, it's studies on molecular hydrogen, because we should be producing molecular hydrogen in our body. But the problem is, I believe over 90% of the population have dysfunctional guts. And so we are not having proper fermentation. We are not assimilating food.
Antibiotics like candy.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So guts are dysfunctional. And in addition to the antibiotics is the vaccine issue, which can destroy the gut. So we've all got gut issues. So continue.
Yeah. Amen. And glyphosate, we know Jeffrey Smith is teaching about this. So the reality is we all have an attack on our gut every single day. And it is because we don't have the proper bacteria in the gut, that we're not fermenting foods correctly. And so the hydrogen gas that normally would be produced, 10 to 12 liters of hydrogen per day can be produced in our gut if we have an appropriately functioning gut. Because we don't produce the hydrogen, oxidation rises until we have what we call oxidative stress. That's where diseases come from, is oxidative stress. If we understand that 70 to 80% of our immune function is in the gut, then it makes sense why we don't have immune. We're not immune. So anyways, that's what the hydrogen does. The water can really restore gut function and restore anaerobic microflora rapidly. And so it's very good.
That's what you're giving in the water, the molecular hydrogen. I have to tell you, Paul, every single time we talk to you, I want to run to that Echo machine of ours and just drink. And I have, since we interviewed you not long ago in our house, we have all been drinking a lot more. It's just a reminder. Drink this water. It's life changing. And I saw a question come through, Paul. It asked when we sent out the information with this webinar, when you told us about the parasites. That was so shocking. And so we did include that little tidbit and let people know this is what we're going to be touching on. So that brings us to the next question. And by the way, the audience watching, we're going to answer your questions. So stay tuned. We just want to get through some of this information to help you to understand more about this machine. So we want to talk to you directly as well. But the newest and most amazing addition to this Echo machine is frequency. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. And, hydrogen is amazing enough, right? I mean, this is becoming a huge topic, and all the amazing benefits that come. And the Echo H2 machine is the best in the world when it comes to that. But now we've added the ability to add frequencies and formulas into the water. And what we've done is we've put a device inside the machine. So built into the machine is the way to put frequencies in the water. So after it goes through filtration, then it goes through the hydrogen chamber. Then as a last step out of the machine, it goes through a device that uses quantum entanglement or quantum physics, which is amazing technology. I've been studying that for the last year and a half. It's just mind-boggling. Quantum entanglement and photon displacement and all these amazing things that we're learning about. But the reality is, inside the machine is a device, and we have a database of formulas, 300,000 of them at our, not that we have all of them built into the machine, but we have thousands of them available. And people, when they get the machine, they will get the ability to use these for 30 days included with the purchase of the machine. All they do is go on their phone or a tablet or a website, and there's a drop-down menu where they can choose whether it's, immune, or it's emotional balance, or it's gallbladder, or it's liver, or it's kidney, or it's pancreas, or it's lung support, or it's whatever. And they'll be able to choose that. And so what happens when they choose it is there's going to be subtle energies that go in the water that can bring attention to that organ or bring attention to the body. And so we have already had so many amazing experiences. One of the craziest ones, or most amazing, I don't know how you want to look at it, but a few weeks ago, we were at a medical convention with doctors. It was purely a doctor show in Atlanta, Georgia, called, the Master's Circle. And there was a lady that had parasites, and she got muscle tested at another booth for parasites, and they sent her over because they knew about our machine and they loved our water. So they sent her to us, and she said, these people told me to come over here. I have parasites. And I said, okay, well, let me just go on the drop-down menu to common parasite elimination. Boom, I chose it right in front of her. We know within a few seconds, 90 seconds at the longest, now that's the formula that is coming into the water. So I said, here, drink the water. So she had 2 glasses of the water, and effectively, she started within an hour pooping out parasites. And so for the next 24 hours, she was pooping out parasites. And so she sent an email saying, this is the most incredible thing. It's amazing. And so we've had experiences like that with people that have adrenal issues. We have experiences with all that.
That's crazy. I mean, it just, wow, that's so amazing how frequency, energy, specific energy can touch a part of your body and heal it. The healing elixir is what you said. The water can be.
The healing elixir. It can turn your tap water into a healing elixir. Here's what's interesting, Paul. In July, we went to Asia for our next documentary to be released next year. When we were in Japan, I had an interview with the son of Masaru Emoto. I know that Dr. Emoto, one of the most world famous medical doctors when it comes to water. And his theories were that water has memory, water can carry frequencies, water can literally be changed to be the most powerful healer on the planet. Right. And we interviewed some of the people in his office, and they're saying exactly the same things that you are about being able to infuse water with healing frequencies that have a specific frequency for a specific organ or a specific symptom. So while this might sound like it's extraterrestrial to somebody in the United States, because this is not well known here, in Japan, this has been known and practiced for 30 years, or if not longer.
Yeah, and that's where real medicine began.
Eastern medicine.
Yeah, and that's just amazing what they're doing. They're treating the whole body, the mind, the spirit, the body, the energy, the light, the sound, all of those things that we're not really even touching upon here. And so, Paul, you're really onto something there. That frequency is amazing. I mean, we can't wait to get our frequency machine. We've got the Echo, but we can't wait to add that frequency.
We want those healing frequencies. And here's the thing. Look, we've looked at from a cancer perspective. We've done research. Royal Raymond Rife, one of the most persecuted men in the history of natural cancer treatments, developed the Rife frequency machine that figured out that each cancer cells and different bodily organs they all had different frequencies, and he figured out a way to target cancer cells by that certain frequency. Yes. Heavily persecuted, died addicted to painkillers in jail, I believe, or he got released shortly before he died. They totally destroyed his life because he realized that life is frequency, that our bodies need certain frequencies to be healthy.
Yeah, and to be able to put that in water, Paul, is tremendous. I mean, you're a hero in my book.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I didn't do it because the path would be easy. I understood clearly because, here I have a machine that has tremendous science behind it, irrefutable science on hydrogen, easy to test hydrogen. And then I go and put something that's quantum physics in a machine, and people are like, why'd you do that? Why'd you put something? And and the bottom line is, because it's the right thing to do. I have such a desire that people have self-sufficient lives so that, we think of homeopathic remedies. We think of the earth and how the creator made it possible for plants and for other things on this earth to provide healing for us. And who knows how long homeopathic remedies will be available as easy as they are today. And so I wanted to have an opportunity for families everywhere to be able to choose something that's basically like a homeopathic remedy that they can make it on their own. There's no succussion. There's none of this stuff needed. You don't need to make a tincture. These things can go. People ask me all the time, what frequency is this at? What frequency is that? What did you choose? How did you fix that? How did you just... And this is what I want to say to people. There were 750 doctors that got together over a multi-year period, including people like Hilda Clark, who is an amazing woman who's passed away now, but amazing world-renowned doctors got together to create these formulas, to create these frequencies, and were using these frequencies in their practices for years. It cost £5 million because the project was done in Europe, not in here in the US. It was done in Europe, and it cost £5 million, so about $6.5 million to create the system that's in the machine. And literally 750 doctors sat and made formulas based on plants, based on things that were happening. This is what was done. This isn't just we chose a frequency out of a hat, or that we even did what Rife did, which is just frequencies. There's actually a whole consciousness. There's a whole process having to do with these formulas that is way beyond what the most amazing individual, Rife, did. Royal Rife is amazing, and what he did was incredible. But this has gone even beyond what that is, and it's very beautiful. I've seen it with my own eyes. Jacqueline started to get sick on a trip she was on a few months ago, and came home and was coughing up phlegm that was colored. And I just set the machine to lung support, and within 10 minutes, no more colored phlegm. Her lungs felt strong. These are the kind of things that are going to experience. So again, what I chose to do was say, look, you can have it for 30 days. It's included. Enjoy it. Use it. If you want to continue, then there's a monthly subscription that they have to pay for to get the ability to continue using these. If they don't see a benefit or they don't want it, they don't have to pay. In fact, they never even have to register the device, and it will be as if it's not even in there. So anyone that doesn't want it doesn't have to have it. Those that love energy medicine and understand how amazing it is and can testify of that, then they'll have that available to them. So I made it where it's not going to bother anybody. But this, I will tell you, it's extremely beautiful technology, and I am grateful that it was given to me as a gift. And again, I wasn't even looking for that. We've had frequencies in our machine for a long time, and we have very love-based energy and frequencies. And so, the reality is frequencies are powerful, whether it's a hug. Some people say, well, what are you talking about? And I'll say, listen, when you shake someone's hand, you feel something. When you give someone a hug, you feel something. A lot of times you look at people's eyes or you shake their hand and you're like, something's odd there. Or you say something's great. I mean, we use energy all the time, all day long. We just don't think about it always as a mechanism of healing. We think of it as a way to judge character in another person or whatever, but we don't always think of it that, wow, that could hold the key to my body having help. So anyways, I am completely passionate about it. I've seen it in action now for about a year, and it's just blowing my mind every time we utilize it, every time I go and share it with someone. It's amazing. So
that's great information, Paul. Just so everybody's watching, the link, if you want to get a hold of one of these machines, there is a limited inventory, is at the top here. You can click there.
And Paul, I just wanted to talk about, I'm sold. I love this machine. I cannot wait to get to the frequency part of the machine.
Mm-hmm.
And tie us to our kiddos as well. We love what you're doing. We love the man that you are. You really are a hero. We're talking about price now. Earlier we talked about some of these machines, and they don't have the frequency. They don't have all these.
They don't have the molecular hydrogen.
Yeah, they're upwards to $4,000 or $5,000. Right. We wanted to. Our motto, Ty and Charlene, the truth about cancer, all these people behind the scenes that are working with us, is to give you the best information that will contribute to a healthy you, a healthy life, and products. We try to keep the price point as low as humanly possible. Yeah. So let's talk about how much these machines cost. And what do they normally cost? What do they cost today for the viewers that are watching with the special link that we're including?
Right. So I've really never done this for anyone. You guys are like family to me, as you know. We're close friends, and I wanted to do something special for all the people that support Truth About Cancer, that really want to support the cause and get in a healthier place in life. And the reality is, as we know, water is what 3/4 of our body is. We know that it's foundational for everything from eliminating toxins to hydration to metabolic rate to increasing energy, all these things. When we add hydrogen, which again, our bodies are supposed to produce that because it's so critical. We have hydrogen in the machine. What makes this machine different is there's no other machine in the industry that has the hydrogen module that we use particularly, that has installation included, that has the warranty service that's worldwide. There's nothing else, of course, that has the frequencies. There's nothing on ours, but just if you look at the hydrogen itself, there's no other machine that has the filtration that we do, that has the unit. So the price of our machine, I didn't want only the rich people to have it. I didn't want for people to have to, sacrifice, something else. I wanted people to have access to it. So we don't sell it for $5,000. I could easily sell it for $5,000. But we sell it for $2,500. That is the price of the machine, and that's what we do. But for Truth About Cancer, for the friends of Truth About Cancer, I wanted to have something special, wanted to support you guys, and you guys wanted to have that as well, of course. And so we're doing the special price for TTAC friends of only $19.95 for this machine, and we're even giving them tablets, so if they travel to Europe or they go somewhere else, they can have water. But the reality is, I want to have everyone and their children having access to this, so that we can undo the issues that are going on in the gut every single day, from pesticides, from GMOs, and all of these types of things. So, with these other machines, Ty and Charlene, that are $4,000 or $5,000, they still have to pay to have them installed. They still have to pay for shipping. They still have to pay sales tax on the price. So it's not even an out the door price that's $4,000 or $5,000. The price that we're doing at $19.95 includes shipping worldwide. If it's international, it's 2-day shipping anywhere in the world. It includes the shipping. It includes installation in the United States and a couple parts of Canada, Toronto and British Columbia. So it's amazing.
That's amazing, Paul, that you're giving our viewers, our friends, our Truth About Cancer friends, these insiders that joined us. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We still have so many that have maintained it in our
We've got almost 2,300 people still on.
And this is like the best deal. You're never, ever going to find this machine with the hydrogen, the molecular hydrogen, and the frequencies at this price. I mean, Paul has never slashed the price this low. And we asked him, we had the conversation around this, Paul and I specifically a couple of times, and we wanted to be sure it was low enough. And Paul loves us, and he wants you to be healthy.
And he loves you.
Yeah, he loves you, and we love you. And so we're really proud to bring this as our first webinar, our product endorsement, and an opportunity for you to bring this into your home, for your friends that visit, for your loved ones, your children, your spouses. I couldn't be happier about this. If I were you, I would click that link and go get that machine, because you're not going to find it at a better price than this, or a higher quality. And the frequency alone is worth so much more.
And like Paul said, if you don't want to do the frequencies, you've got the best molecular hydrogen machine on the market too. Frequencies, that takes it to another level, in our opinion.
Yeah.
And it also filters the water too, so you can literally, you hook it up to your own tap, it filters your tap, creates molecular hydrogen, you can infuse the frequencies.
Yes.
So you basically got your own homeopathic water. It's amazing for $19.95 installed.
Crazy.
It's a great deal.
So we were really excited, the team building up to this day, this webinar with Paul and the Echo machine and the frequency. I've been talking to the team behind the scenes, and it's just like, wow, this is crazy. It's that good. So this is a happy day for us to be able to bring this. And Paul, we appreciate you. And we promised the viewers too, that we would answer some questions. So Gia, behind the scenes, if you've got some questions to shoot at us, we want to hear from you. So highlight those questions, and let's do our best to answer those questions. Ty, do you see anything?
I don't see any questions yet, but in the meantime, Paul, if there's anything else that you wanted to share that people usually ask about it, feel free. And then when the question comes in, we'll hit you with it.
Absolutely. So a few things I would like. A few things I would like to talk about.
Hold on just a second, Paul. We've got Suzanne coming in here. She says, is there any conflict with people using a cancer treatment such as chemo or Keytruda or others? So would drinking the molecular hydrogen water interfere with your cancer treatment?
No. And in fact, there was a study done from the company having to do with colon cancer that used 5-fluorouracil, which is a chemotherapy drug, actually. And they did a study wanting to see what would happen when you combine hydrogen water with chemotherapy. And the study showed that it was 100% cancer cell death. The reality is they were not able to find anything else. The chemotherapy drug didn't have obviously anywhere near that effectiveness. But when they combined the hydrogen water with that treatment, they had 100% cancer cell death because apoptosis was activated. So again, this is a study that we have that people could read themselves, but there is no contraindications of any kind having to do with drinking hydrogen water. I've been doing this 15 years, and the reality is it only enhances everything that is being done. I want to make sure people understand something. We're not when we say hydrogen, we're not talking about hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide in water doesn't even last that long, but there are studies showing that it can cause anxiety and depression and huge oxidative stress issues in the body. That's not what we're talking about here. That's H2O2. We're talking about H2, molecular hydrogen, which is H2. Please understand, I want everyone to know it has nothing to do with hydrogen peroxide, because I don't recommend using hydrogen peroxide systemically. It is H2, or what's called molecular or diatomic hydrogen, completely different.
We've got another question coming in from Amy, and she's asking, she's saying there are other molecular hydrogen water machines on the market. What makes yours stand apart?
Well, that's a good question. Unfortunately, I've been lecturing about hydrogen since 2008. And when everyone was running the alkaline direction, they're like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? You were selling alkaline machines. Why did you change? And I said, because hydrogen is what the mechanism of healing is. So what's happened, Amy, to answer your question specifically, all the companies that were selling alkaline water machines were going down in sales. Their sales were plummeting because everyone was starting to be educated on the fact that hydrogen was the reason, not the pH. So most all of the companies had to start talking about hydrogen. And unfortunately, most of the machines on the market that were simply an alkaline water machine a few years ago now are rebranded their machine without changing anything about it. They just started saying it's a hydrogen machine because people start buying it. But the truth is, we already talked about earlier, if it is an alkaline machine, it's going to get scale buildup, and you're going to have to be constantly cleaning it. So the difference is, to answer your question, you don't have to clean the Echo H2 machine. It's never going to get scaled up, and the maintenance is almost non-existent. So you will have the ability to have the machine in your home and not have to worry about it and have a guaranteed hydrogen. There's no other company on earth that will say to you, it's guaranteed to produce hydrogen.
And we've had our machine for years and had almost no maintenance on it.
So the next question comes in from Bill. Is the frequency a separate machine, or how do you set frequency on the Echo H2 water hydrogen machine?
It's built in. So there is a device inside the Echo H2 machine. The way that you control it is through a phone. And I'm going to show you right now. We're going to use this beautiful webinar, and I'm going to show you what the portal looks like so that you can see. But the reality is, you just go right on your phone, and you can absolutely change what formulas and frequencies you're putting into the machine. So once you register your machine, you'll have an account. Yeah, go ahead.
You have an app? Is that an app on your phone?
Yes. So for instance, here is the app, and it shows energy device, right? And so when it goes down to formula, you can see it right there. And let me see if I can do this. Cool.
Almost. Oh, yeah, we see lymphatic system, spleen, muscular system.
Wow, that is so cool.
So it's just a drop down.
Oh,
right.
Look at that. That is so cool. Lungs, respiratory system.
Wow.
We need the respiratory for Ray.
Eyes. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. Very bones and skeletal, allergy, hay fever, anxiety, stress.
My goodness.
Do you have one that'll make someone better looking?
I would use it if I found it, but I haven't gotten that far.
No, that's amazing. That drop down is just amazing. So you pick your symptom.
I'll tell you the one I've been using lately with my wife. You see the one that says sleep support?
Oh, Ray needs that one too. Des, are you taking notes out there? We got to tell Ray about this.
Okay, here's a question. Elizabeth says, does it remove chlorine and fluoride if it's hooked up to home where those chemicals are added to our water? Great question, Elizabeth.
Yeah, so the filtration that is built into the machine removes chlorine, chloramines, pharmaceuticals like drugs, heavy metals, glyphosate, pesticides, bacteria, things like this that are in the water. Fluoride needs to be removed through a separate filter, which we have that goes right outside of the machine, and it needs to be replaced every 6 months. So when you get the fluoride filter and the main filter in the machine, you have cleaned everything that you would not want to have in the water from heavy metals, pesticides, pharmaceuticals, chlorine, chloramines, and with the separate fluoride filter, you're also removing fluoride. Now, people will ask next, how does this compare to reverse osmosis? Reverse osmosis cleans those same things, but also removes minerals out of the water. We do not go deep enough to remove minerals out of the water. There's no need to remove the minerals, so we keep them in the water. And it's not that those minerals are, beneficial from a nutritional perspective because they're inorganic minerals. It's just good for water to have minerals because it has the right structure and the right feel. But that's the difference between our filtration and reverse osmosis. And if you already have a reverse osmosis, you can connect this directly to it, and that's a great water.
Which is exactly what some of the doctors told me in Asia, is that the minerals are needed in the water. Do not remove the minerals,
Right.
because that's essential to healing. Got a question from Rosemary.
Rosemary asks, can this machine move with us? We need to move in 2 years.
Absolutely. It's very simple to connect it or disconnect it, especially the Echo H2 machine, which is a countertop. It'll probably take you 10 minutes to put it in and take it out. It's really simple. It's only about 11 pounds. It's only 10 inches by 13 inches by 5.5 inches. So we have people that take it on the plane with them when they go on trips. So no problem there.
And so I'm glad you mentioned that, Paul. If you get the Echo H2 machine today for $19.95, Paul said he's throwing in a bottle of the molecular hydrogen tablets. So
Free.
you won't get the frequencies in it, but you can actually put them in your water as you travel and have molecular hydrogen water wherever you are.
Yeah, we've had some.
Thank you, Paul.
Absolutely, Paul, for that. We've had people say they love that hydrogen in their water so much they can't live without it, and they like to travel. That's what you can have a whole bottle of those tablets, and he's throwing that in as an extra bonus on top of slashing the price way down. You'll also get a free bottle, which is it goes for what, $50, right? The bottle, but you're going to give it to them free.
Yeah, normally it's $50, right?
Karen says, can you use it with carbonated or sparkling water?
I wouldn't. What do you mean? I don't know how you would use it with it, because the water comes out of the machine. However, I wouldn't combine carbon dioxide and the hydrogen. I don't think they'll.
I think there's these machines now you can produce your own sodas. I think she's talking.
Yeah. So, I mean, technically you could. There is enough space. So this gets into dissolving of gas in water and liquids, but there is enough space in between the water molecules to have both carbon dioxide and the H2 molecule. And so you can try it. And what you can do is test the hydrogen. We do have a reagent that is $25 that you can put into the solution. If there's hydrogen there, it will turn clear. If there's not, it'll turn blue. So you can try it and see if the hydrogen remained. I don't think you're going to get rid of all the hydrogen. And so you could have fun with that. And that's fine.
Okay. And then looks like last question, right?
Yeah, last question. We're close to done. Wow,
Dalton,
fast, honey.
I did.
Dalton says, does the app require a subscription, or is it included in the cost of the device?
So it is a subscription. The first 30 days are no charge. After that, you'll have two plans you can choose from. One is $19.95 a month and one is $29.95 a month, depending on how many formulas or frequencies you want. The basic, as you just saw, is pretty in-depth. It covers the entire body. It gets into energetics. Tier 2 is things like Lyme's disease and other significant issues that you would want to have help with. It gets into specific immune function for telomeres, for viruses. It can get into blood pressure management. It can get into diabetes and other things. It just gets deeper into what you're wanting.
That's
For
amazing.
for the 1995, fine.
People are spending a couple $100 a month on internet and cable. You're spending, I mean, your bill, that is nominal amount of money for your health. And look, we did a recent interview with Paul at our house, and we talked about the fact we have insurance for everything. We have car insurance, auto insurance, life insurance that we hope we'll never use. And people are paying way more than that on the insurance that they hope they'll never use.
Yeah, how much is your health and life worth?
What's your life worth, especially your health, when it comes to the fact that the majority of your body's water? And Paul has not stumbled onto it because he's a really brilliant scientist, but Paul has developed a way to turn your tap water into a healing elixir. That's why we call this webinar that. And I think that if you paid attention, and we've still got over 2,000 people on, so thank you for staying on with us this entire time. Yeah. You've been paying attention. You've seen that this is something really, really special.
Yes, absolutely. And about the subscription, if you need it, use it. And if you decide I no longer need it, you can cancel it. So it's not something you're stuck with. Yeah, it's a great machine. The molecular hydrogen alone, but the frequencies, I cannot wait to get ours.
Yeah, this has been
great. Tell you what, I've been using them ever since we implemented them. I use them a lot, and sometimes I change them multiple times a day, obviously, for what Jacqueline's needs are or what have you. I've been blessed where, I don't have any health issues in my life, but my wife has, and it's been significant. I have a very strong constitution or a very strong immune function, and I'm lucky that way. But as you know, my wife has struggled, and so I'm grateful to be able to help her in this way. That's for sure. But I appreciate all the questions. I wish we could answer all of them because there's so many people on. And
you know what, Paul? We could do part 2.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. We want to hear from you. So let us know if you want a part 2, and if so, we'll make it happen. We want to hear from you. Let us know what we can do to better serve you. We're here for you. Yeah. We want to continue this two-way conversation with every single one of you out there that are watching. Bring your friends to the next one. Stay tuned, because we're going to continue this. I think we're going to maybe take a break for Thanksgiving. We hope you have a nice Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's next week.
We hope to come back the week after with something special. But I think that this was pretty special. I hope that everybody out there got their machine at the great discount with the extra tablets.
Get yours while you can. There's a limited inventory. We're so thankful for you. Yeah. Paul, thank you for joining us today. We're so thankful that we had a fast internet connection today and nothing locked up. Lots of reasons to be thankful. So next week with Thanksgiving, we'll have a lot of things to thank God for. But we love you, Paul. Thank you, bro. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're really appreciative of all of you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
I'll see you soon.